Class 1 to the gate. Class 1 to the Class 2 to the gate, please. Class 2. Thank you, exhibitors.
Well, good evening. It's a pleasure to be here this afternoon and have the opportunity to sort through the GOAT Show. Really look forward to it. First class is any indication, it ought to be a really fun evening. Nice set of goats, really complete. Love the one that walked in, or the one that leads the class off from the minute he walked in. I'll be the first to admit he could be powered up a little bit, a little wider chested and stouter made, but that one's really complete. He's structurally correct in his handle, got a great square top in him over his rack and loin, plenty of hip shape to go along with it. The doe in second ends up there because I think she's another one that's similar to our class winner. Not as big boned, but in terms of body shape and design, she's good in her rack shape, good in her loin shape, good right out of her hip. I'd put a touch more bone underneath her if she's going to rival our class winner, but that's a really nice one in terms of structural design and makeup. She edges out the one in third in terms of length of body and extension and smoothness through her front end. I think she excels that goat here. If you like carcass and you like base width and you like power and stoutness, got to like this guy in third. And I do. I like him quite a bit. I wish I could extend him a little bit. He's a little earlier maturing, maybe a little jammed up in his shoulder and rounder at the point of his shoulders, but that's one that's got a lot of bone underneath him, a lot of rib shape, and a lot of muscle shape working in him. The next goat that comes in line, really a complete one. Doesn't blow you away in terms of muscle, but he is square over his rack and loin. He's one that's got a big hip in him. He's level in his top line and good off his feet and legs, and I think that's where he excels, the one that ends up in fifth. The goat in fifth, I love him from his last rib forward. Really good rib shape, huge rack shape in that guy. It's his hip and hind leg structure that I'd like to change a little bit when you put him in motion. He wants to get rounder out of his hip, a little straighter in his hock, but a good class. Please put your hands together and congratulate all these exhibitors.
Results for Class 1. First place, Casey Gutierrez, Lincoln 4H, tag 3070. Second place, Clansley Conklin, Eddie 4H, tag 83755. Third place, Peyton McCarty, Goddard FFA, tag 85392. Fourth place, Aspen Hughes, Eddie 4H, tag 72417. Fifth place, Kate Cooper, Hondo FFA, tag 73033. Our judge tonight is Mr. Marty Gibbs. He's the District Extension Administrator with Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service in San Angelo. He has 32 years experience judging shows and goats all over the country. Please join with me in welcoming Mr. Gibbs. Thank you, exhibitors. Please bring Class 3 to the gate. Class 3.
goats in this class to lead it off. Not that from I think are exceptional goats, and the paint goat that wins it really sets himself apart. Goat that's designed extremely well. Love the way his neck blends into the top of his shoulders. He's up and clean in his chest floor. Tremendous in terms of touch and handle over his rack and loin. He's the freshest goat I've handled today. Really good off his feet and legs. I like that one quite a bit. Class. Take nothing away from the black-headed goat that ends. That's another really nice one. He's not as neat and attractive in his neck shoulder. He's not as neat in his chest floor or breastplate. He's one that's not quite as stout when you get behind him. But this young lady's done a great job of feeding one and fitting one. He handles as firm to the touch as anything. There's just not enough of him today to get around that paint goat that wins the class. Young man that comes third, love the design of this one. Really well built. Probably the best built goat in the class in terms of structural integrity, base width, skeletal width. Wish he had just a touch more muscle to run with those two in front of him. He's narrower down his top and particularly right behind his shoulders and over his rack. He's not as up and fresh in his loin edges as the two in front of him, but that one is really correct in the way he's designed and built, just not quite ready today. The next little goat that comes in line, another one that I like in terms of length of body, in terms of length of hip. That's a level-topped, good-footed goat that gets around the ring and moves well. He runs out of gas when we start talking about muscle. You can look at his stifle and lower leg and see that he's flatter there than some of the other goats in the class. He's also one of the softer handling goats in the class as well. And then a big stout doe here that ends the top five. I appreciate her a lot, and I like her when she's on the move. Really good off her feet and legs, big ribbed and stout made. Not as fresh, not as good to the touch. She's one that's softer handling. She's not as expressive in her muscle shape down her top, but she's a wide-based, stout-made goat, and you got to appreciate that. Good job. Congratulate these exhibitors on a nice class.
Class 2 results. First place, Jade Perea, Estancia FFA, tag 84101. Second place, Carly Aramuspi, Corona FFA, tag 72922. Third place, Wyatt Bullion Braithwaite, Rio Arriba 4H, tag 84620. Fourth place, Logan Dunlap, Curry 4H, tag 72227. Fifth place, Cash Skelly, Roosevelt 4H, tag 73594. Brindle Racher to the gate. Brindle Racher. KSVP TV is live streaming our show tonight. If you would like to watch it, the site is ksvptv.com. Thank you, exhibitors. Please bring Class 4 to the gate. Class 4.
Another really good class, and I think an awful good set. There's a lot of differences in conformation in this class. Several goats that are ready to go today, maybe even a little further than they ought to be. And then there's some little thin goats in here that are really structured well and built well. Paint goat that wins the class, I think he's a beast. Really powerful in terms of muscle shape and feet and leg structure. Stout as you can make one. I'd like to extend him out a little bit. He gets a little short up through his front end, rounder in his shoulder, and maybe just a touch coarser made than some of the other goats in the class. But boy, when you get your hands on him, he's got the biggest rack shape, the most loin edge shape, really big hipped goat. I think he wins the class pretty handily. The goat in second intrigues me quite a bit. I like him a lot, even though you're going to say this one ain't even close to being ready, young man. He's real thin, he's real green. He's not as mature in his rib shape or rib design. As a result, he doesn't have as much rack shape today, but I love his hip and hind leg when you put this one in motion. He's big hipped, he's wide based, he's structurally correct on the profile. I just don't think there's enough of him today to get around that goat that wins the class. The white doe that comes in third, another really nice one that I like quite a bit. She's one that doesn't want to show herself off. She's giving her a lot of trouble today, isn't she? But that's a nice designed goat that's good off her feet and legs. She's big ribbed, she's big backed, she's structurally good enough, I think, to run towards the top of this class, and I like her body style and shape. She could be firmer to the touch, she could be more youthful in her chest floor, but I think that's a really nice one. The next wether that comes in line, big, stout one, a lot like our class winner. He's not as fancy, he's not as neat to look at on the profile, he's not as neat in his joints or the way his shoulders put together as some of the goats in front of him, but that one's huge in his top side shape. He's really square over his rack and loin, he's big in his hip. I just don't think he's as fresh and good in terms of touch and handle. He's not as neat in his look on the profile as some of the goats that precede him in class. And then we round the class out with a really good one, big, stout goat that when you put him in motion, he wants to fall apart in his hip loin. He's not as good in his hip and hind leg structure and the way he handles that leg, and he's not as wide based behind. But the front 2/3 of this goat I really like a lot. He's big backed, he's wide chest, he's big footed, and he's stout made. I just like to change his hip and hind leg structure and the way he ties together in his hip loin. Please congratulate these exhibitors for a really nice class.
Jayton Morris to the show gate, please. Jayton Morris to the show gate. First and second place goats need to report to the testing area. Class 3 results. First place, Braden Fuentes, Artesia FFA, tag 83779. Second place, Bailey Trujillo, Eddie 4H, tag 72353. Third place, Raina Ivy, Danya Anna 4H, tag 73324. Fourth place, Presley Cabot, Quay 4H, tag 73182. Fifth place, Stella Rand, Eddie 4H, tag 72332. you. Thank you, exhibitors. Please bring Class 5 to the gate. Class 5.
Well, our class 4, another nice class, and I think the young man's going to lead it off with maybe the complete goat of the class. He's the one that's got muscle and shape. He's got bone. I'd like to change him in his design on the profile. Wants to break behind his shoulders a little bit. Not quite as neat to look at on the move, but that one handles really good. He's done a great job of feeding him, keeping him fresh, getting his top shape up in him, and handling good. Congratulations, young man, on a nice class winner. Young lady in second's got one that really intrigues me. He's given up some muscle shape. He's not as stout in terms of his bone work as our class winner. He's not as big down his top, but boy, when she pops him up there and prances him out around the ring, that one has a great design, great shape, really youthful up through his neck and shoulder, really clean in his chest floor. I just wish there was a shot more to him to use any higher. The goat that comes third, big-backed, big rib, stout-made kind of a goat, just needs to be a little more attractive on the profile. Gets a little shorter necked and jammed up in his front end when you put him in motion. He's a shorter hip, rounder hip goat when you view him from the side. But lots of power, lots of product. Some of the same things can be said about the goat that ends up in fourth. There's one that's huge-backed. He's big-loined. Doesn't handle one with as much loin as him all day, but in terms of his structural design and the way he's put together, wants to break behind his shoulders and get out in his shoulder up front, wants to get a little rounder out of his hip and doesn't come together as well on the profile as some of the goats that are in front of him. And then the young man that'll round the class out, there's a big-framed, long-bodied goat with a huge hip in him. He needs more shape down his top. He needs to be a little bigger ribbed, but there's one with a big hip in him. And again, when he props him up, does a great job of showing him. Congratulations. Let's congratulate these kids on a nice class.
Class 4 results. First place, Creed Hughes, Eddie 4H, tag 83694. Second place, Madison Mancha, Artesia FFA, tag 72340. Third place, Madeline Clark, Carlsbad FFA, tag 83703. Fourth place, Gracie Rand, Artesia FFA, tag 72331. Fifth place, Hagen Lazardo, Lovington FFA, tag 72813. Thank you, exhibitors.
Really nice paint goat to lead the class off. I think he sets himself apart from the class as being a long-bodied, nice designed goat. Really balances up extremely well on the eye as far as the profile. Super level down his top, big level hip in him. He's good enough on his feet and legs. A nice one, I think, to lead the class off in this heavyweight class. The goat in second, really attractive to me. Really neat up through his chest floor and his front end. I think he excels the goat in third, not in muscle, but in design. He's neater in his chest floor and at the point of his shoulder, he's smoother. He's better in his neck-shoulder junction and he's leveler down his top line, really good off his feet and legs. He could use a shot more muscle compared to our class winner, but that one is so well designed and well constructed. The goat that ends up third, big back, stout one. He's got a top in him like our class winner. He just doesn't balance up as well. He gets a little rougher and coarser in the way his shoulder ties in. His neck ties into his shoulder. He's not as neat in his chest floor or his shoulder, but a really powerful in terms of muscle shape, and I think he's plenty good off his feet and legs as well. The next goat that comes in line that the young man has, this is a nice designed goat that wants to fall apart just a little bit down his top. He's not as smooth. He's not as big in his rack shape. He's not as smooth in his hip-loin junction. Gets a little rounder out of his hip. Not as stout as some of the goats in front of him, but he's got a great loin in him. Did a great job of feeding him, young man. Then we round the top five out with a doe that's really a nice one in terms of muscle shape. Big top in her. She just doesn't balance up as well. She's not as square in her pin set. She's not as straight from hock to ground behind, but that's a really nice one in terms of muscle shape. Let's give these kids a round of applause for another super class.
Class 5 results. First place, Tanner Dean, Doña Anna 4H, tag 86202. Second place, Clansley Conklin, Eddie 4H, tag 83757. Third place, Madeline Clark, Carlsbad FFA, tag 83702. Fourth place, Braden Fuentes, Artesia FFA, tag 83781. Fifth place, Cash Skelly, Roosevelt 4H, tag 73586. First place, Class 1, Casey Gutierrez, tag 73070. Second place, Clansley Conklin, tag 83755. Class 2, first place, Jade Perea, tag 84101. Second place, Carly Aramuspe, tag 72922. Class 3, first place, Braden Fuentes, tag 83779. Second place, Bailey Trujillo, tag 72353. Class 4, first place, Creed Hughes, tag 83694. Second place, Madison Mancha, tag 72340. Class 5, first place, Tanner Dean, tag 86202. Second place, Clansley Conklin, tag 83757.
Well, it's been a pleasure to be here this afternoon and have the opportunity to sort through the goats. I've had a lot of fun. A lot of good goats out here. I think you can tell that. There's been a lot of good goats maybe sent back to the barn that didn't make it out here today. But before we do anything, congratulate all these kids that are here and the ones back in the barn for a great job today. I've never been one to make a whole lot of speeches and talk a whole lot, but I am going to talk about 2 or 3 goats that are out here that I like quite a bit, that hit me really hard, that are my kind and what I like to see. And I hope you can appreciate the front lineup out here on all of them. I think they're really good goats. There's minor differences between all of them, but I think there's a pair that probably set themselves apart from any of the other goats out here, or maybe even 3 of them. The goat out of second class, and everybody's going to think I'm all crazy about paint goats, and I'm really not. It just happens to be the 3 that I like the best in this lineup are paints. The young lady's goat out of the second class I think is super youthful and fresh, great touch and handle to him. I think he gets around the ring well enough. I'd like to change his hip structure just a tiny bit. I'm being critical on one that I think is really nice. That's a great goat. He's so youthful in his chest floor. He's so extended out through his front end. Really neat to look at. Really great touch and handle to him. And the muscle shape and quality on this one's really good. That's a high quality goat that maybe gets just a nickel straight in his hip and hind leg attachment, but I think he's super good there as well. The goat out of class 3, tremendous in terms of hip and hind leg structure. I really like hip and hind leg structure in goats. This one is as level as you can make one. He's got flexibility and cushion off that hind leg. The motion in his hock is really good when you drive him out and watch him walk. He's still attractive enough up through his front end. But if you're going to criticize him at all, it comes through his front end. He's starting to mature just a touch more in the base of his neck and the way he ties together in his shoulder. But, man, when you want to get your hands on one that's powerful, you're not going to see many goats in the world that have that kind of top shape and his squareness and power to him and still be youthful enough and still be attractive on the profile when you get him out here. And then we talk about the heavyweight goat. I really like this one in class. I thought he walked away with that class. Love the bone work underneath him. He's big bone and stout featured and still very youthful and attractive up through his front end. He's long necked. This one too, I'd like to change in his hip and hind leg structure. He gets too hock, too straight from his hip down to his hock in the way he travels around the ring, and he's more restricted even up through his front end and the angle to his shoulder. But that one's got some shape to him, and for a heavyweight, he's youthful and very attractive and easy to look at. A really good goat show. Put your hands together and congratulate them all, and I'll go out and select your champion in reserve.
Grand Champion Meat Goat belongs to Braden Fuentes. Reserve Grand Champion, Jade Perea. Third overall, Carly Aramuspi. Fourth overall, Tanner Dean. Fifth overall, Casey Gutierrez.